Hey guys, so in this lesson I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about concept maps, giving you some examples of them, of what good concept maps look like and what bad concept maps look like. I'm not going to look into each and every nuance because we did some of that in the flow map lesson, but some of the details that we didn't get through in the flow map lesson that are more specific to concept maps is what we're going to be looking at, as well as an extension of concept maps, or you could say an extra idea that can make them a little bit more powerful, right? So here you see I have a concept map with my focus question. And so this concept map is meant to answer or give me a better understanding of this focus question. So you see I have plastic, toxins, global warming. That answers what are some negative effects. So we have plastic and we have labels describing the connections between them, between it and these other two things, toxins and global warming. We have some visuals that are distinct from each other and that kind of stuff, all right? Now I do want to compare with a few other concept maps. Now, I deliberately didn't put in the connections and visuals in these ones, just because I already added them here, so I thought that'd be kind of repetitive. But I want you mostly to focus on things that are not the visuals or the transitions. Okay, so let's actually move to it. Okay, so here you have it. All right, now assuming we had the visuals and we had all those things, what do you think is different from this one? And actually can make it a bit bigger. Okay, so you can see both of them. Now, assuming that we had the visuals and the connections, what kind of difference can you see? I'll give you 10 seconds, all right? Counting, Okay, you could, take more time if you need, but pretty much I want you to notice that the difference really is in the spatial arrangement that's going on here. So here we have some more space, and here they're kind of cluttered up. That's kind of not ideal when it comes to this, because it's hard to distinguish the concepts when you do something like that. So that's another thing that we're going to add to the checklist, which is how are they spatially arranged, and are they arranged in a way where I can clearly distinguish these as two separate ideas, right? Now there is a bit of a nuance to this, and we'll see it right now in the next concept map. So because this isn't a binary question of should they be closed, should they be structured in this way or not. It's very much a feel type of thing. So let me actually get to the second one. All right, so now we have these two guys, right? Now this one's also different from the first one, right? I can actually compare it. Let's go back. Maybe I can zoom out a bit and have all of them. All right, so we have, oh, that was a little too much. All right, so we have all of them here, right? Now, we can see the differences. Now this one, assuming it had the visuals, etc., seems to be better than that one. However, there is one scenario where this might not be ideal, all right? And I'll give you 10 seconds to guess, but after, I'll give you the answer. Again, it's not about the visuals or the connections that are the clear labels and having unique, visuals, etc. Now, at the same time, all these are supposed to answer the same focus question, right? So it's just kind of variations, right? All right, so the difference here is that these things are now more spread apart, right? Now, it could be a bit neater, even if they're spread apart. However, here's the thing. If toxins and global warming have some particular connection, notice how hard it's going to be for me to connect them. Notice how it's going to look like. It's going to look like that. So that's not ideal, because when we were organizing the information, we weren't thinking about how things were going to be connected. And typically when we structure things in our head, ideas that are related to each other are closer together. Now, if they're too close, you get this issue where you're not able to distinguish them clearly in your head. So you want a little bit of spatial separation. But if they're too far, you aren't able to make clean connections. Now, if you look at this case, that doesn't happen, right? Because it's pretty much structured in a way where it's, they're close enough together and I can make a connection here if I wanted to, right? Again, always think that this is really what's going on in your head, your thought process. So you want to fix it in a way that's, clean, organized. So that's the nuance that I wanted to cover for concept maps that isn't really relevant when it comes to flow maps. All right. Now, here's the other thing that I did want to cover as well. So you see we have a focus question here, right? Now, there's this other thing where we can, in some scenarios, have stacked focus questions that can be answered with a single mind map, all right? So, for instance, here, again, I'm assuming that, I'm not adding the visuals because I already had them before, but in this case, for instance, I'm stacking, oh wow, okay, that was too much. Okay, so here you can see more clearly now. We're stacking questions here. Okay, so it's pretty much the same. Plastic effects has toxin, global warming. But now we have this extra part where it leads to health risks. So we first have, why is plastic harmful to the world? So that was the first question before that we had in the previous concept maps. Now we have, what are some of the consequences? So notice that these two questions could be answered by a single concept map by doing this thing here. They lead to health risks, all right? Now, here's the caveat. Sometimes when you're stacking questions, sometimes it doesn't make sense for them, and this is kind of the issue where there's the distinction between the mind map and the concept map. So concept maps, they're really good for specific questions that you want to answer, but because they're so specific, generally since the mind map is about the general ideas, if you were trying to answer those specific questions using a mind map, you'd have to totally restructure everything, all right? So that's why we use concept maps. Now, however, sometimes not all questions can be stacked together in a way that makes sense without having to completely change the concept map. So this other question, how are these consequences similar or different? I couldn't really answer with this, right? So I created another concept map that more clearly illustrated that, right? And here I actually added some visuals on this one. So it's really a comparison between these two things, right? Like, if I wanted to, I'd probably add group these two, toxins and global warming, into effects. So I would probably have like another chunk here that says effects. I mean, I'm coloring over here, so it's kind of messy, but, or you get kind of the point, right? And then toxins and global warming would be a part of that, right? And they'd have these like subgroups. Okay, let me actually delete this here. Right, so you can see with the heart, for toxins, I broke it down into lung cancer and heart disease. So these are some kind of consequences that could come here, right? And I colored them, etc. For global warming, I had heat and the possible consequences of endangered animals from it. Now, this is a different concept map because I couldn't stack the question onto the other one. So that's something that I want to kind of mention. Sometimes you can stack questions, and in that case, it's pretty effective. You just use the same mind map, but sometimes you can't. So sometimes, sorry, not the same mind map, same concept map, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to create a new one. So that's what I wanted to illustrate with this right here, all right? So that's pretty much what it's going to be for this lesson. In the next one, I'm going to be talking about mind maps, and there I'm going to be going hard on each of the nuances, the variations, and details that mind maps require, because they are more complex than concept maps and flow maps, all right? So, stay tuned for that, and see you in the next lesson, all right?